Tuesday night waiver wire. It's actually legitimately a big waiver wire week. There's a shit ton of injuries. I'm Zach Bruner, Trevor Landon in the middle, Henry John on the right. We had baseball talk before the show, so I'm a little sleepy. So let's get into football here. There's a lot of fucking injuries, man. And I know, Trevor, on our Wednesday show, you always talk about how you're bored by tight ends. I think this is a big tight end week. Every tight end that you like is out. Dan Arnold, sorry to say, IR. Pat Freiermuth is concussed. Darren Waller is week to week. I think there might be another one, but yeah, there's a lot of tight end shit going on, and we should look to the waiver wire this week. I think a lot of people are. Plus, what is it, 4 teams on bye this week?
One has survived. My boy Dalton Schultz is still alive.
He's kicking. He's going. Amari Cooper also still has not been cleared to come back, so maybe increased targets for him. Never know. Amari Cooper not conditioned, apparently. He has to pass conditioning testing. He has not done so.
Speaking of Dan Arnold, he donated a signed jersey of his and a Panther, or not a Panthers, wrong team. A Jaguars prize pack to Platteville Cross Country Silent Auction. So if you want either of those things, first of all, question yourself. Secondly, go look for it. It's already way too high. The jersey is $140, and the signed football and like a bunch of snacks and like coasters is like $100. So
I mean, can you put a price on Dan Arnold memorabilia?
They did. They did. They said the retail for the signed jersey was $100, to which I said that is probably $75 too much.
If people don't go up to it super close, so you could pass off as a Jaguars Tebow jersey, which really ups the value. So I think that's a big sell. That's kind of worth it. What if I put that on the wall? That'd be the greatest backdrop for like any fantasy football show of all time. Dan Arnold, maybe Tim Tebow, who knows? But it's the Jaguars who are buzzing. This is a season for the ages. Dan Arnold is. Love me some Dan Arnold. But yeah, he's out. James O'Shaughnessy comes back. I guess he's a free agent pickup this week. So look at Cole Kmet is still barely owned. It said early this morning, 13% owned. Definitely jump on him. If you are, I guess I should bring up all the teams on bye. It's the Packers. Who else? Who else is not playing this week?
Titans, Panthers, and wait for it. Damn, I can't remember the last one. There it is.
Browns. So I guess the only other tight end worth noting, I guess, is Austin Hooper. I don't know. Like, I guess there aren't that many good tight ends on bye, but I guess it takes away some, there's a chance yeah, dear God, if you were relying on him, I think your season's done. I'm sorry to break the news to you. I'm sorry to pull an Anthony Lynn from last year a couple of weeks early. I think you're mathematically ruled out, even though maybe you technically aren't. But yeah, just looking at some of the tight ends, I guess. I'll go to Sleeper just to see who's available in my league, just to see what their ownership is there. Okay, here we go. Let's go down. Logan Thomas, what's he available in? He is rostered in 65% of leagues, so he's out there in about a third. Definitely pick him up. He would be a priority for me. Pat Freiermuth, like I said, he's in concussion protocol. If he obviously passes, it's tough to predict that. You can't predict that. He's also available in a third of leagues. Henry, I think you're higher on this guy than me. But if you saw Tyler Conklin out there, are you interested in picking him up this week? He plays Detroit.
Depending on your situation, yeah, I think I would be. He's had, obviously, playing consistently a high number of the offensive snaps. The targets have come down a little bit. The past couple of weeks only saw 3. After a couple of weeks was 7 and 5. He had a 4-week run there where he had more. I mean, Zach, I think you said this on a show before. When it comes to tight end, you're kind of looking for someone just to not get you 0 in a week, right? Conklin hasn't had 0 points in any week yet so far. So I think you can do worse. Is the ceiling very high? Probably not. Is the floor very low? Yeah, it kind of is low, but it's not zero. I think he's going to get targets. And also, when you're talking about the Vikings, they're losing Dalvin Cook. Obviously, you want to run the ball on the Lions, but we've seen Alexander Mattison step in and produce. But does that change how they're doing things a little bit? Maybe. So I think you can do worse.
I think that's fair. Trevor, do you have a differing opinion of either of us on him? No.
He puts me to sleep, much like the MLB does to you.
Fair enough. Tyler Conklin's the MLB of the NFL. Put that on a headline. Here's a guy I like. If you listen to the Flurry Sports podcast, I already talked him up on that. And I said, what did the Colts did some self-scouting. They're like, what's the difference between our team this year and past years when we were good? And the mentioning of Jack Doyle's name in the media was far lower because Andrew Luck wasn't pushing his name out there in between every single sentence. So they're like, okay, let's get him involved. And he's been super involved lately. Obviously, this week he had 6 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. He was massive. But he's scored 3 touchdowns in the past 5 weeks. He's had 5 or more targets in 3 straight weeks. Jack Doyle owned in 3% of sleeper leagues.
Wow.
So I would take him over Conklin for sure. I would rather have Logan Thomas, who I said is out there in obviously a third of leagues, but I think Jack Doyle needs to be looked at because I think he's a good blocker, and they're actually running Jonathan Taylor slightly more now, so he's going to be on the field, and if they do play action, I really like Jack Doyle. Thoughts on him? Either of you?
Trevor,
No.
do you want to go first?
I guess that's stalemate. He's been there for like a million years. Somehow he was in the same class as T.Y. Hilton, which is interesting because T.Y. Hilton has the body of a 70-year-old man. But he's reliable. I don't know why they ever went away from him, but glad they're finally getting him some love again.
I would agree with you, Zach. I would rather pick up Jack Doyle than Tyler Conklin. And we have 2 quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, who kind of are notorious for targeting tight ends with regularity when they have tight ends who are playmakers in the offense. But when I think of the Colts' top 2 receiving options compared to the Vikings wideouts, it's night and day. So that alone should suggest to you, okay, I think Jack Doyle has a greater ceiling in that offense to kind of step up. And like you said, they've been getting him involved the past couple of weeks, so I agree with that.
He also plays the Texans this week, then he has a bye. He's definitely a streamer guy this week. I wouldn't hold on to him because he plays the Patriots immediately after. I'm not super afraid of the Patriots in terms of tight ends, but I think his touchdown likelihood goes way down. So he would be a 1-week guy for me. Other news, let's go to running back. Trevor, I'm not sure if this will surprise you, but Christian McCaffrey's done for the year. Isn't that strange? That's really wild.
Why do people draft him? Like, I did it last year, and last year was smart. But after last year, why do people still draft this guy?
I don't know. Like, I don't even think it's a fluke injury. Like we talked about, he was going to go from 0 to 100 immediately because that's what the Panthers are going to ask him to do. And he's got put on IR again. And if you get put on IR twice in a season under the new rules, that means you're shut down for the year. It's just super annoying, man. The good news is hopefully you weren't a Christian McCaffrey owner who dropped Hubbard. That would have been a very stupid move. And we already saw with this team and what how everything would shake out without him. We have plenty of stuff to draw back on with that. So I don't know. Like, we know exactly what to expect, I would say, which is good. There's no unknown here. We're not projecting who is going to get the carries or anything like that. It's going to be Chuba Hubbard away we go.
Who is the trainer on the Panthers? Like, did he, like, has anybody watched Community here? The show Community?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he's like the Joel McHale of the NFL trainers. Like, he really doesn't have a degree. He just showed up, said he did, and they believed him. Like, he had a huge injury last year. He got injured this year. He's your, like, bell cow, right? You're not going to compete this year, so what's the point? And they're like, nah, we'll bring it back. There's no way this shit could happen again a second time in a row. Like, that's not how injuries work. It's so frustrating because I think this is going to ruin his career for sure.
I'm not finding trainer. Jeremy Scott is the head strength and conditioning coach. And Matthew Los Delgado is in the Dwight Schrute role. He is the assistant to the head coach, in case you were wondering. So, good for him.
Both worthless.
Yes, that is correct. But yeah, so Chuba Hubbard, obviously, if he's somehow out there, I can see how many people dropped him, I guess, here. That would have been a very stupid thing for somebody to do, given the history. He's only rostered in 51% of sleeper leagues. So definitely go check it out. We know exactly what he's going to be. He's going to be an RB2 without him. We'll see what this Panthers offense is, I guess, because with Cam Newton, it's clearly very hit or miss. I don't think they move away from Cam Newton. I think he'd have to be, man, I don't know. Do you think there's any chance they move away from Cam Newton? Like, what if he throws 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, gets benched again? Do you think they finally make the switch to PJ Walker?
I mean, can they? Like, they're paying his replacement's replacement, and him to replace his replacement's replacement. Like, first of all, who thought this was a good idea? Like, did you not see him play with the Patriots? Yeah. But I don't think you can. Like, the season's pretty much over. Like, they're still in the hunt, but, like, realistically, they ain't doing anything. They're going to get mollywopped by whoever plays them if they make it. So, I think you got to stay with them. I mean, they clearly don't like Walker for whatever reason. Well, I know the reason, but they clearly aren't going with him.
Yeah, they should. They should try her out. What do you got to lose?
XFL MVP.
He can fucking sling it. He can make some magic happen. He's got a little Taylor Heineke in him. What can I say? He's got something about him. This is what I'll say about Chuba Hubbard. On a bye this week, obviously. Tough to pick him up, possibly for some people looking to contend, need a win right now. Afterwards, he has Atlanta, which is a good matchup. Then he's got Buffalo, which doesn't scare me. However, he ends the season with Tampa, New Orleans, Tampa. And you're not wanting to put him out there at all in those. So if you go on a run, he's not somebody I would be starting in your fantasy playoffs, excluding that Buffalo game if your playoffs start then. So we are at that point in the season where you need to start looking ahead. And yeah, he's definitely not somebody I would be investing in long term. But maybe this guy is. Let's see what Alexander Madison is owned in. Dalvin Cook torn labrum. Apparently that's not season ending. I partially tore my labrum. And if I had to play running back, that would not be a fun time. I can tell you that much. But yeah, Alexander Madison owned in more leagues than Chuba Hubbard. He's owned in 57% of leagues. That makes sense. Plays Detroit this week. Obviously, good matchup. Then he plays the Steelers. I have no clue if that's good or bad at this point in the season anymore. And then sleepers, assuming Dalvin Cook is back. After that, he has Bears and the Rams and the Packers. Man, if Dalvin Cook misses 2 weeks to a torn labrum and separated shoulder, he's not going to last long.
There's no way, because first of all, look, I'm sorry. I've never torn my labrum, so this is pretty hypocritical for me to comment on it, but I'm going to do it anyways, because when have I cared? Yeah. He needed a cart for a shoulder injury? What the hell? Like, I'm sorry, but like, come on, dude. And meanwhile, the Browns' offensive lineman knee gives out on the field. They're like, walk it off there, buddy. What are we doing? Like, if it's a shoulder injury, you should be forced to walk off the field. Like, stop being a little bitch. Like, come on. Like, I was in first grade, broke my arm. Did I ask for a cart? No. Was it a torn
Should've.
labrum? Also no, but beside the point. Like, dude, you need a cart for a torn labrum? A dude who needs a cart for a shoulder injury is not coming back from that shoulder injury in 2 weeks. There's no way. Such a little bitch.
There's been a lot of that this season. They've been bringing the card out for absolutely everything. I don't know
What
why.
happened to McKissick last night? I thought he was dead, and then he was like sitting
did
up
I.
like perfectly fine like 2 minutes later. I'm like, what are we
I
doing
thought
here?
that too. Like normally, the cart used to only come out for guys who like had an air cast put on their entire leg
Yeah.
on the field, and so
Like
like to
Johnny
see McKissick
Knox.
go off with like nothing on him, and he's like shaking hands and whatever. Like it was, I mean, I don't like. I feel bad for anyone who gets hurt, obviously, in a torn labrum. That's a bitch to deal with,
Yeah.
even though I've never had one. But yeah, it's. I mean, interesting. I feel like the cart usage is getting a little more lenient.
They got a bigger cart budget or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
NFL's got too much money. They're just flaunting their carts left and right, willy nilly, showing the NBA what's what, showing
Look,
the
we care
NHL. You
about
got
our
a Zamboni. Look at our cart.
Yeah,
That too, maybe.
we care about our players, except when they're offensive linemen, then we don't give a shit.
I think we need to go high school football style. We need to have an ambulance parked right there in the stadium and have them go out on an ambulance.
I
That'll be a
want one like
spectacle.
so close to the end zone where if you run a deep route to the corner, you might run face first into the back door.
Classic setup.
Yeah, it's always too close. And then we can get some like props going on with touchdown celebrations. We'll have somebody hit it in the ambulance and they'll like jump out. Like, yeah, it'll be so good. Like, David Bakhtiari's back. He's in the ambulance the whole time.
And then we'll make sure that the people in the ambulance are incapable of recognizing what an injury is. You know, they come out, dude's leg is bent 3 ways, and they're like, you're fine, and get back in the car.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Straight up WWE stuff right there.
This is a little bit of off. Okay, so just for the people at home, I'm talking to one of my employees right now, Luke Reimer, also on the show normally. He asked what a 23 defense is. Apparently someone told him that the Packers run that on 3rd and short.
What?
That
is not that person should not be allowed to open their mouth.
So
no,
that Peter Bukowski?
No.
Probably. There's no way, man. That or they're calling it wrong. Like, I don't know what you would call that. That wouldn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. I refuse to believe that we run 2 defensive linemen on 3rd and short. But maybe. Joe very special. Okay. More injuries here. Let's see. Deebo Samuel's out a couple of weeks. Trey Sermon could be put on IR. Kyle Shanahan said that almost like he's threatening Trey Sermon, which is funny to me. Like, we'll put you on IR, motherfucker. I didn't want you. But with Deebo Samuel out, they signed Devin Funchess. Devin Funchess is on their practice squad. He may play. I knew Trevor would get excited.
Yes.
Compare him to Curtis Samuel. Do it. Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to compare him because he's better than Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel Curtis Samuel watched Devin Funchess get hurt and then said, I got to be like Big Brother, and did it himself too.
Man. So I guess if Deebo Samuel's out, I don't necessarily think Brandon Ayuk's better. It might be a boost to Elijah Mitchell at this point with how many carries that Deebo Samuel's been getting. I like Elijah Mitchell a lot, actually. He's really good. But sucks to suck if you own him, I guess. I own him in a couple leagues. Trey Sermon. I bring that up because if you have him, absolutely drop him. There's no hope for you. There's no point. They will play Jeff Wilson over him, clearly. They will play Jermichael Hasty over him. There's just no point holding on to Trey Sermon. Yeah. Anything else to say about the San Francisco situation?
What did Trey Sermon do? Like
Sucked.
Shanahan is like a kid who gets like a ton of gifts, and his parents are, the front office, and he's like, I don't want to play with them. I wanted this. Like, what is wrong with him? Like, he feels like such an angsty teenager. Like, what?
He does.
What's wrong? Like, he can't even act normal. Like, dude, you suck. You should be happy you have a job.
I feel like John Lynch every day at practice when Shanahan like throws a temper tantrum. He's like, "I'll call Mike. I'll call your dad." Like, no, fine, it's fine. I'll play Trey Sermon. It's okay. Like, I feel like that's he constantly threatens that. That's a good call, though. Yeah, for sure.
Personally, I'm sick of everyone saying that Trey Sermon needs to get out there and like fantasy people being like, "Oh, I'd wasted a draft pick on Trey Sermon." Like,
yeah, true,
correct. It sucks. He's not better than any of those running backs. Maybe JaMychal Hasty is a power runner, but like, what
Sure.
did he do to just vault to the top of the depth chart? I mean, Elijah Mitchell is, he came out of nowhere, but guess what? I mean, 49ers are definitely glad he's there. Like, he's been like the top rookie back in a lot of metrics that I was looking at actually earlier this morning, writing some articles. So, the other thing I would say about the 49ers situation, though, depending on what Debo does, is George Kittle has done like nothing the last 2 weeks. And Zach, so to your point, saying you don't know that Brandon Ayuk's necessarily going to get bumped, I would second that by saying I would expect George Kittle to revert to form and get some more targets, get some more receptions, and be a little more productive sooner than I would say Ayuk's going to explode because Samuel's out.
The people that say, like, Sermon deserves to play because I drafted him are the same idiots that say Jalen Hurts is good because he scores 20 points in fantasy.
Yes.
That's not how this works.
Jalen Hurts, no.
Dude, is
Kyler Murray, too. There you go.
Kyler Murray is better, at least. He's at least serviceable.
He is better.
Jalen Hurts is just a shit stain of a quarterback.
I agree. He's also, by the way, if you're a Jalen Hurts owner, he has a sore ankle, I read, so it would surprise me if he stays out with a sore ankle. But by the way, he needs to play, because if he doesn't play, Gardner Minshew is going to go in and look good. Like, legitimately. Like, that's not good for Jalen Hurts. So that's something to keep in mind there.
I think he should sit out.
I agree.
I think the Eagles need to think seriously about how bad that ankle's hurting him and what treatments they give him this week. Might be good for them.
Also, running is the only thing he can do. So he's hurt on the one thing he needs to do for the one thing he's good at. Like, that's horrible.
If he didn't run for like 75 yards this past week, he would have scored like 3 fantasy points. Like, it was,
Yep.
That's not a quarterback.
Negative for me in our league, which was fun. That was a good time. Another quarterback in the NFC East, Daniel Jones, already ruled out for the game. What is it, Mike Glennon? Is that who it was? Skycam, is he coming in? He's still in the league, I would assume. He's the next coming of Charlie Whitehurst, except for he somehow always finds the field. Charlie Whitehurst at least found a way to stay on the sideline. This isn't a good thing. Like I've said in the past, I like Daniel Jones, so I wouldn't necessarily think this is an upgrade to any wide receiver. I don't think this is good for Saquon. They play the Dolphins, so it's not the hardest matchup in the world. But boy, the NFL is really helping the Dolphins out, man. They want the Dolphins in the playoffs. They play the Giants this week. Without Daniel Jones, they play the Jets next week with Zach Wilson, which is helping them out. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess my question to you guys then is with this, and it's not a waiver wire question. With Mike Glennon, are you more scared to start Saquon Barkley? Or do you think he's unaffected? He's not better, obviously.
I don't think you start, like, it sounds dumb, but I don't think you start him. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say drop him, like some idiots, like middle of the season, but I don't think you start him. Like, his boom is gone, effectively, and now it's definitely gone. So you're just hoping he averages like 5 yards a carry, and that's not going to happen against any defense, at least not this year.
I don't know that I would say not starting Saquon Barkley, because I feel like if you own Saquon Barkley and if you've waited for him through the injuries and whatnot that he's already endured this year. You're pushing for a playoff spot. You're kind of in a position where I don't know that you're going to sit him on a bench, but are you expecting RB1 or even, I would say, high-end RB2 production? Definitely not. He would kind of be a low-end RB2, I think, at most for me. I mean, keeping expectations modest. And also, like, this Dolphins-Giants game, I feel like it's just going to be pretty much as ugly as the Giants-Eagles game was this week. It's going to be defensive. Both defenses are drastically improved from the beginning of the season to now. And they're playing down in Miami as well, so the Dolphins defense always tends to play a little bit better there. So I think it's going to be ugly kind of both ways. But I would rather start Myles Gaskin. Well, let me think about that.
Yeah, think about it.
My ceiling for Myles Gaskin this week, it's going to be higher than Saquon Barkley, and I actually mean that because the Giants' run defense is the weak point.
That's fair. They get Logan Ryan back, which actually does help their run defense, surprisingly, at safety. If you're in a league that has not, had the trade deadline passed, I would buy Saquon Barkley 100%. Unfortunately, there's a stupid headline that came out today that the Giants are going to make Saquon Barkley the focal point down the stretch, as if that's like a revelation that they just fixed their team or something. That might make some people think he has more value now, so you'd have to pay a normal price for him. But I like him. I think he's fine. I don't think he's the same player as he was, but I don't think he's a bad player. He has the Dolphins this week, and he has the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Bears, and then Washington in Week 18 if somehow you're playing then. I like his schedule. I think these are all winnable games. I think these are all games where the Giants should be in scoring position, which is all he really needs. I don't think they're going to be passing a ton in the red zone. So I don't mind him. He's not an RB1, obviously. But I think he could be a solid RB2 the rest of the season. I'll be starting him this week by default in some leagues, but I'm trying to think of like a good comparison who I'd start him over. Myles Gaskin's on a odd week, so I think he's normally, he's off and on, so I think he's probably going to be fine this week, unfortunately, because I put a lot of stock into that. But yeah, I don't know. I think Saquon's fine.
A little side tangent, who makes the schedule, like, for viewing, like, on TV? Because this might be the worst week for football on TV in a very long time. Like, the 3 o'clock games are garbage. The 7 o'clock game is horrible. I don't understand.
Ravens Steelers ain't
Yeah.
bad. That's the
If you get them in your area, though. And then, on true. Fox, it's Washington, Vegas, Jacksonville, LA, because, those games are going to be fun to watch. And then Baltimore, Pittsburgh, which would be okay. And San Francisco, Seattle, and Seattle can't get the ball past the 50 without an onside kick. So
that'd be great.
And San Francisco doesn't even have their 2 best players, arguably. So what? And then on Sunday night, we have the Denver Broncos. We just feed them to Patrick Mahomes and say, good luck, bitch. Like, it's going to be horrible.
Teddy can run now. Teddy's going to carve him up. It's going to be a good game.
You know who San Francisco does have now, though, is Josh Norman, making all the difference in that secondary.
When he's not punching players in the back.
He's punching footballs out. That's what he does.
And back plates.
This is a shitty week of football, huh? This is a bad week.
It's so bad.
It is a pretty bad slate.
It's horrible. The Chargers against Cincinnati is going to be amazing.
Someone's going to try to lose that game, and the other person's not going to let them. That's how that game's going to go. Vikings-Lions, though. Lions off
the Lions
long
are going to win.
Don't know if Dalvin Cook for the Vikings.
Flashback to the first time those two teams played, and the Lions should have won.
Hey.
I am picking the Lions until they win a fucking game. Because they got to, right? Like, they have to.
The Vikings are favored by 7 points without Dalvin Cook on the road. But you know what? This could be the week. Why not this week?
I have never felt so deflated when the Lions, the Bears had the ball with 140 left on the 9. The Lions had 2 timeouts and they did not get the ball back.
It's up. Hey, you know what? Dan Campbell had him on their heels. He had him right where he wanted him. He almost took it from him. It was close, man. He psyched him out. He used 2 timeouts in a row. He's like, I've never seen this before. It was good. He almost had him. And they get back the rookie Afitu Melifonwu. Is that his name?
Something like that? I love that guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's very good, but he's back. And I think he might be an upgrade, which is, hey, that's good for us Lions fans. I'm excited.
Hey,
you know what they don't have though is DeAndre Swift. He's already been ruled out, so both top running backs are out. But I'll take Jamal Williams over Alexander Madison any day.
Yeah, Jamal.
Hey,
he's going to be out there like a mermaid.
How many wins does DeAndre Swift have with the Lions this year?
Wins?
Yeah, how many times have they won with him?
They haven't won a game.
Yeah, that's not.
So is it really a loss? Henry. Is it a loss? Here we go.
Well, I don't know.
Now we go.
Wasn't Dalvin Cook out for 2 of the Vikings wins too?
I think you're overthinking this, Henry.
Hey, the Lions are getting better each week, and now you scout the Lions. You know what they're going to do. They're going to run it with DeAndre Swift, right? Now you don't know what Dan Campbell's going to call.
Oh, I see what you did there. I actually more so just because Jamal Williams should be, if he's somehow not owned in your league, a guy that people are picking up.
I'm picking him up.
Anybody's owned.
But
I'll pick him up. I don't know why they haven't given Adrian Peterson a call yet. That would be something I would have done immediately. But
I had another Giants question too. Just because we were talking about Saquon Barkley, what are you guys doing with Kenny Golladay the rest of the season?
Dropping.
I will kick him to the curb and laugh in his face. He is not good at football.
How things have changed from 2 years ago.
So did Matthew Stafford make him good?
I think it's more so the Detroit franchise. Once you leave, you think there's greener pastures, and that's just not true. Jamal Williams owned in 41% of sleeper leagues, so he's out there in quite a few. And I'll take that. Who's their other running back? There's the other guy looked decent too, actually.
Oh yeah,
Lamar Jefferson, Oregon State, 7th round pick.
Jefferson,
he's good.
They had another guy too that broke a long run 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think he's got a long name.
They got Raheem Boyd.
I don't know.
Oh, they cut him. He was on Last Chance U.
Oh.
Damn it.
Who is this guy now? I gotta find this running back.
Godwin Igwebuike? That guy?
That's not how you pronounce it, but yes.
Hey, from Northwestern, so you know he's good.
Oh, God. Shout out Dean Lowry.
There you go.
I knew so.
Dean Lowry. As always. This is a guy you need to think about. He has no points. Oh, actually, he does. Holy fuck. Sorry. He had 21 yards a couple weeks ago. Jason Kobinda, running back and linebacker eligible in sleeper. So
who is this guy?
He's a running back linebacker for the Lions.
But where? Oh, the Lions? Oh, God. Yeah. He's on the Lions, so of course.
Yeah. He played 16% of the snaps last week without a target or a touch. 19% the week before that. That's when he had the 2 carries for 21 yards. And he was targeted. So, something to think about. You're welcome.
The Lions have 9 guys on their depth chart on IR. That is insane.
Hey, that's if you want a reason why they haven't won a game yet, that's your reason. Right there.
We got a question. Can I pose it?
Is it about the Lions or no?
Okay, no. Stephen Drakes, would you trade Deontay Johnson and I believe Ramondre Stevenson for Gibson, Elijah Moore, and T. Higgins? It's half PPR. I would say sure. Yeah.
100%.
I would.
Oh, yeah, because McKissick is out. Yeah.
Like, probably, yeah. But yeah, I mean, Deontay Johnson obviously is a focal point of that Steelers offense, but that offense obviously goes as far as Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Canada can take them, and that's proven to not be very far. And Ramondre Stevenson splits the touches, and he doesn't get the goal line carries, so why would I want him? So yeah, I like that trade. We talked about all those quarterback injuries and quarterback stuff. Obviously, there's 4 teams on bye, so you'll be missing Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, I guess, Ryan Tannehill, and Cam Newton, who some people were relying on. It's important to note that Taysom Hill has been practicing with the ones. It's another one of those situations where I apologize, Henry. Contain yourself for a second. Taysom Hill may not be that good of a quarterback in real life, but for fantasy, he's going to be. He's probably a top 12 guy just because of how often he's going to carry the ball, especially in the red zone. Also in that game, Ingram was a full go and Alvin Kamara was limited, so I think he's probably going to play on Thursday. But like Trevor, wouldn't you say if you had a quarterback on bye, don't you think Taysom Hill's probably a priority signing this week?
I think it depends. They're obviously I'll have streamer articles up tomorrow. But I think it depends. Some leagues have some really good options there. Taysom Hill is nice, but Dallas, like I can see Micah Parsons just eating him alive. And I don't know. Like he's kind of like a Jalen Hurts. Like, do you trust his legs to get you enough? So I don't. Priority, I think, is a little far, but I think is definitely worth a look.
What about you, Henry?
I'm sorry, Harold got really excited at Taysom Hill.
Understandable.
I think for me, it comes down to assuming Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, or at least one of them, is back. That's kind of
Ingram will be for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of going to influence how I view Taysom Hill a little bit, though. I mean, last week we were talking about an offense that literally had no playmakers, so it was just a dead team walking once Ingram got ruled out there Thursday afternoon before that game. But if one or both of those guys who you said Ingram's back, if Kamara's back as well, I think the Saints can do some damage. I think the Cowboys defense has overperformed, to put it nicely. Trevor mentioned Micah Parsons, and I agree with him. But I think outside of Micah Parsons, who else on that defense has really actually truly stepped up? I'm not really sure. I think Sean Payton's going to bring it. The Saints are kind of with their backs against the wall. Definitely, I feel like it's a coaching mismatch. And so if he's making the switch to Taysom Hill, I think there's going to be a solid game plan ready there. And for fantasy purposes, you're getting a quarterback who can run, which is more than a lot of guys can say. And I think I would take Taysom Hill as a passer over Jalen Hurts too. So,
yeah. It's also important to note, like we said, it's on a short week. Taysom Hill's coming in, so Cowboys have to learn, a new game plan, necessary kind of, I guess, with Taysom Hill in there. Mike McCarthy is not going to be there. He's got COVID. What's his face? Defensive coordinator. What's his name? Dan Campbell. Not Dan Campbell. That's
Quinn.
Insulting. Dan Quinn. I'm sorry, Dan Campbell. Dan Quinn is going to be the main guy. He's going to be running the show. That's a big deal because he's the defensive play caller. So now he's going to have to wear 2 hats in this same game, right?
That's
so
not
now
good. If history is any indication.
Well, that too. Right, exactly. Like he's shown he can't do 2 things at once, and he's going to have to do 2 things at once in this game. And with a lot of moving parts, and obviously it's a short week. We already said Amari Cooper might not play for Dallas. There's a lot going on here. And like I like Taysom Hill. I think he's going to be fine. I'll do my rankings tomorrow. We'll have a show about it, so definitely come back for that. I think he's probably going to be borderline top 10 for me. And with a team with very little playmakers right now at receiver, having a running quarterback and a playmaker like that, especially in the red zone, it's going to do wonders for this offensive game plan. So I like him quite a bit. To be completely honest, owned in only 13% of sleeper leagues. So he is out there in a ton of them. Obviously, Daniel Jones out, and a bunch of people on bye. I would probably start him over. I mean, obviously the Jimmy Garoppolos of the world, I would start him over. There's a lot of people that people are starting, and you can pick up Taysom Hill and get a win this week, I think. Only other thing I wrote down, Kyle Long. It's not great for fantasy, or not super relevant news for fantasy. Kyle Long activated for the Chiefs. It makes me really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Kyle Long is one of the best offensive guards in football. He hasn't played it down this season. Came out of retirement to sign with the Chiefs. Big deal. Got a little bit of news. Got injured right away. They kept him on roster all season. He may play on, I guess, Sunday night this week. If he plays, man, like, he is going to clear ways. He's going to make that offensive line so much better. Maybe there's a couple of hiccups right away because he hasn't played football in almost 2 years, and he hasn't played football with these guys. But going down the stretch, going into the playoffs, that's going to make this good team great. And it makes me really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And all their deep threats, honestly. Like, he's going to help so much. That was such a good signing by them. Any other players you guys want to talk about? Or pickups or anything of that nature? I will bring up our waiver wire article quickly on Flurry just to see.
While you do that, I'll just throw out Van Jefferson is only owned in 58% of sleeper leagues. I don't know if you guys are quite on the Van Jefferson train like Luke and I are, but I mean, he got the job done this past week and played 98% of the snaps, 9 targets, only caught 3 of them, but I would expect that efficiency to improve against the Jaguars this week. So I think you can do worse than him as, your wide receiver 3 or flex, depending on your situation.
I was super high on him as a rookie, but for someone as good of a route runner as him, he's used exclusively on long bombs. Like, all he does is run go routes. So I'm not on board. Like, I don't dislike him as a player. I dislike his role on this offense and the way Sean McVay uses him. So
also, Stafford's fucked up. Something's wrong. He ain't right. And if he keeps playing through it, it's not going to get better. That's what scares me too.
Yeah, it'll help when he plays teams like the Jaguars who can't get pressure. Packers were able to get pressure with 4 guys and just sit back on every route. So it really obviously hurt him. I don't know what the Rams' schedule is after this week, but I definitely like it this week.
Cardinals, Seahawks, Vikings, Ravens. Through week 17, that is.
Yeah, that's not good.
Cardinals,
I think he's fine against the Cardinals. I think he's going to really hurt against the Seahawks and Vikings.
I would go MVS instead. I think MVS is a better form of Van Jefferson. Like, obviously, I'm not comparing them as players. But in terms of, like, that role, I think MVS is the big play threat, and he also has a solid floor. He has 19 targets over the last 2 weeks. That's good. I don't think it's going to stay there, right? There's going to be a little bit of regression, but he's got Chicago, Baltimore, Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit. You already saw him eat up Minnesota, Detroit. That's just how early do they get to a 40-point lead. Cleveland sucks. Baltimore is just going to be blitzy, and that's going to be easy for Aaron Rodgers. So I like him there.
Here's another question. I guess I should have brought this back up when we were talking about tight ends, but with Darren Waller going down, what are you guys doing with Las Vegas? Is it Deshaun Jackson? Is it Foster Moreau? Is it someone else? Or is it the running backs? Because the targets and stuff have to go somewhere. The Raiders, they're inconsistent moving the ball, but then they go out and have games like Thanksgiving where it's like, okay, this could be a playoff team maybe. Because the only way they're winning games to me is they have to outscore their defense. So they have to go somewhere. I don't know who I'm targeting there.
In fairness, that is how a lot of teams win.
Shut up, Trevor.
It's true. Hey, big brain move right there. A lot of teams don't realize that.
I
But yeah, Foster, Marone, Hunter, Renfro for me
Okay.
are going to see a ton of targets. Other than that, like I don't. Braylon Edwards or whatever clearly hasn't panned out. I don't know what his deal is. Do I have that name
Brian
right?
Edwards.
Brian. Okay.
Braylon Edwards.
Braylon,
Wow.
Braylon was the GOAT for the Browns. Although it was the Browns, so it didn't really count.
Actually, the Jets.
He was a legend in backyard football, though.
The Jets.
Okay. Well,
we don't talk Jets.
He's as irrelevant to me as Brian Edwards, which, yeah. Kenyon Drake should be used more. I don't think he will be. I think I think his role is going to continue. I don't know. They're just going to try to run the ball and play with the lead. That's the only way they have a chance to win. Yeah. I don't know. Anything else? Oh, T.Y. Hilton plays the Texans this week. Start him in every league you can. That's just the way it works. Yeah. That's all I got. You guys got anything else? No.
Yes, I got something in depressing, sad news today. The Brewers cut big boy Dan Vogelbach. You might not like baseball, but you love Dan Vogelbach. I'm not talking anybody specifically, but big boy, big legend. They're not signing anybody, so I don't know why the hell they did that. But moment of silence for our fallen brother in Dan Vogelbach. I don't know who's supposed to cut this off, so I will. But I didn't actually expect that to happen. I didn't. Zach put his head down. I didn't know what to do.
You started the moment of silence. You're supposed to sit there and you're supposed to say thank you when it's over.
I said it in jest. I don't know. I've never done this before. But we love you, Dan Vogelbach. He appreciated the gesture. It's a thought that counts.
Have you guys seen Boban Marjanovich's goldfish commercial?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Oh.
Where he just slams his hand into the bag and rips it open. It's so dumb. It's not.
But it's Boban.
It's not funny. It's just Boban being Boban.
Why is he in the NBA?
He's 7'5" tall. That's pretty much why.
Because he's a freak of nature. He looks like a garden man.
He plays 10 minutes. Right. He plays 10 minutes every 5 games. What are they saving him for? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. Like at some point, it's like I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know.
Hey, here's a random fact for you guys. If you start Myles Gaskin on odd weeks and J.D. McKissick on even weeks and half PPR, you get a RB5 in total scoring this year. Just that makes sense. Man. I love Myles Gaskin. You take that back.
J.D. McKissick went off on the cart though, so is that still going to work?
Well, next week's an odd week, so we don't need him. We need him for week 14.
Okay, true.
That's a good point.
But the cart.
That's a good point.
If you wasted a 6th on him, I'm sorry, but it happens.
Okay, I need to go work. See you later. We'll be back tomorrow with a fantasy football ranking show and Lombardi sweep. I don't know what we're going to talk about. It's a bye week. That just kind of dawned on me. Hey, Lions got a game though. Maybe we'll preview the Lions game.
Ford Fiesta Wednesdays? ? You never know.
We may have to. Okay, tune in then. Bye-bye now.